Hi, everybody. I am Jessica Korn with Moondog Animation, and we are sponsoring this panel today. I just want to thank Dig South for letting us have this opportunity, and we are very excited to learn more about the metaverse from this wonderful panel. If you guys want to talk about this afterwards, the Moondog team are right here in the front, and then, kind of see us off to the side afterwards. And I'll pass it back off to Dave. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Jessica. Thanks, everyone. Excited to have this panel on the multiverse here. So, if you were there for earlier, no, sorry, metaverse, not multiverse. So, guys, if it sounds like we're just continuing a conversation and you're dropping it in the middle, we had dinner for 3 hours last night. There's so much to talk about here. We're going to try to move quick because there's a lot of topics we're going to dip into. But definitely, you've got everybody's names here. No, you don't. We don't have Himesh up here. Okay. Himesh at the end. Sorry about that. But make sure you follow all these guys. It's going to be a fascinating conversation. So yesterday was great. NFTs, metaverse, blockchain all day long. Does everyone feel like they're sort of at 101 level, at least understanding of like Web3 metaverse? And anybody still completely lost? It's okay if you are. Are you kind of caught up? Okay, cool. So we're going to go deeper into some topics here. I'm going to start with Jeremy, no particular order, but take us to first principles, will you? What actually is the metaverse?
Yo. Hey, guys. How are you? I think we actually built it last night in that 3-hour dinner. It's not ready for view yet, but we're close. So to me, the metaverse is an emergent phenomenon, right? It's the manifestation of what Web3 technology can deliver as an experience. And I think the interesting thing about it is it's being built in real time by everybody. It's kind of hard to get your mind around that because what happened in the past with Web2, and we heard about this yesterday, is, people build platforms. If I built a platform and I want users to come to my platform, I've invested in the tech. I need to recoup my investment. I want to keep those users on that platform for as long as I can. But the metaverse is totally different. The metaverse is like, we're all kind of co-building these experiences where users can move between without friction. And there's some sort of commerce engine that powers it as well.
Yeah. Okay. So Shep, what would you say the components of the metaverse are? I think we have a lot of things coming together. We're talking about a lot of things. Is it the same thing as Web3? Is it just a bunch of stuff relabeled? Is there something new here? What is making up this discussion about the metaverse?
Yeah, I think the metaverse is, or a metaverse, however you want to define that, is a kind of a catch-all term right now. So it embodies VR, AR, cryptocurrencies, immersive gaming. Anywhere that you can be somewhere where. Like my favorite example of like what is an example of like the metaverse is right now kids are leaving high school, kids are leaving middle school, and they're not saying, hey, let's go hang out at the park. They're not saying, hey, let's go play a game together. They're saying, hey, let's go hang out on Fortnite. It's a destination. It's a place where they're actually spending time together and they're building relationships together. And so that's kind of how I think about it. And it's built on all of those different components that as we see it move forward, we'll continue to get more and more integrated.
Can I add to that real quick?
Yeah.
Has anyone seen Wreck-It Ralph 2? Ralph Breaks the Internet. Mm-hmm. I had an aha moment like a long time ago when this metaverse discussion all started. And there's a scene called Game Central Station. Mm-hmm. And it's literally Grand Central Station, but all the tunnels are the connections between all the video games in the arcade. And you have all these characters walking in this place between their game and they're interacting. And it was such a interesting visual that it's like, maybe that's what this stuff is going to be,
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. Ben and Himesh, I'm going to come to you in a second, but while we got Jeremy and Shep going, is it a metaverse or is it the metaverse?
All right. This is the debate that we've been having. Yeah. My take is like, in the future, I could see it being just like your digital representation of life. Like, what does that mean? Where do you spend your time? How do you think about it? What's your digital currency? And that could be an overarching the metaverse. But right now, you have a lot of different companies claiming they're building the metaverse, and they're not. They're building a metaverse. They're building an immersive experience. They're building an augmented reality experience outside of this building right now, right? Like, they're building something that is a singular experience. And that's whenever I think I think the term metaverse probably won't be what we use 7 years from now. So it's like, I think about each one as like as an experience that is all encompassing this new digital life that we're starting to see be built, where more and more and more will become digital. That's my take.
Yeah. Jeremy?
Yeah, I think we're saying the same thing. I look at it as like, there can only be one metaverse. Like if you think about the word meta, and don't associate Facebook, because that was, we don't want to get down that tangent, but like meta, can there be anything bigger than meta? Like meta as just the word itself is like an overarching, all encompassing thing, right? So in my opinion, maybe there's instances of the metaverse. Maybe you build your instance of the metaverse, but like it plugs into this singular kind of thing happening. I think we're saying the same thing. Yeah.
Okay. I was looking for more of an argument, guys, but okay.
No, we worked it out last night.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, fair enough. Okay, Himesh Patel, sorry you're not up here.
No
but
problem.
guys, look this guy up. I'm not even doing introductions. Like seriously, follow these guys. They all have like a long list of things we're doing, and we'll get a chance to talk about a little bit of it. But Himesh, where is the metaverse being built?
That's a good question. The metaverse right now, we need to look at the infrastructure, number one. Everybody talks about let's build the metaverse, but the metaverse needs power. It needs connectivity to the internet, right? Without those two things, there is no metaverse. And then not to throw a wet blanket over all this excitement, but somebody at 60,000 feet is looking down at this and saying, how are we going to create the rules and regulations? So the regulatory bodies are looking at this space right now as it's emerging, and the developers in this space, they really need to understand how to stay within certain guidelines and not just get out of control, because it's very easy to get out of control in something like this because there are no rules and regulations right now, right? So there is no guidelines. So to build something like this, it's going to take some great collaboration, some strategic partnerships of groups coming together and building this thing out from ground up, because we're at ground zero right now, right?
Yeah. And can you give us one or two examples? I know you're working in various countries, interesting projects. Who's leading the charge there?
I wouldn't say anybody's leading the charge, but I think, people that are looking at the Web 3.0 space and looking at the next version of the internet, basically, ownership.
Yeah.
We're working on an interesting project that's related to renewable energy. It's addressing the climate crisis. And we believe that we want to engage the public to take ownership of this charge towards net zero 2050. And we want to give them ownership of the infrastructure. And this is something that we're looking at building within the metaverse eventually. So
Yeah, it's fascinating. We've talked a lot yesterday about ownership and decentralization or less centralization. It's been a big topic, and I think it's a big one. What does ownership, and just lob this one up for anyone. What does ownership mean in the metaverse? What does it mean that I own something in the metaverse?
I'll take
Go for it, Shep.
Yeah, I mean, this is something really interesting. I'm gonna go back to gaming. I really like it. It's just one bucket of all of these topics, but it's such an easy one where like somehow over the last 20, 30 years, we've made the decision that if I buy a Fortnite skin, which I guess lasts like 5 years, but if I buy a Fortnite skin, that I don't actually own it. I can't give it to my nephew if he's now playing the game. And this is the idea that I think is really starting to transform, as people are questioning that. If I'm going to pay $7 for this Fortnite skin, it doesn't matter. It's not about like an NFT going to $7,000. It's just about the act that I could just give this to someone else because I paid for it. I own it. And I think that's really like the ownership layer that we'll start to see, is like whether it's, your cryptocurrency or your digital, game currency, that's something you own and you can, like we're seeing with cryptocurrencies, sell for real dollars, or it is a digital good that you're not just paying a game for, then you don't actually get anything out of it. I think that's a big piece of ownership, is the ability to transfer what you're doing. And then someone else can probably speak a bit more highly on around like data, right? It's like you're going to these websites right now and they're making money off of you. I was talking to someone yesterday, Yuri, if anyone heard about his decentralized email platform, it's really fascinating, where like he looked at like how much has Gmail made off of him and his data. And it's like $15,000. It's like a wild amount off of just him. You can look up how much Gmail has made on you individually. And so what a lot of people are thinking about when it comes to ownership is, if I'm going to be using this platform, I'd like to own my data. I'm willing to pay for this data. And then if I have all this data and they're making $15,000 off me, maybe all four of us can say, we're going to own this data ourselves, and we're going to put it into a pool, and we're going to make 12,000, and we're going to give the platform that's pooling at $3,000, but then we're getting paid for our own data. And so that's another form of ownership too.
Yeah, it totally spot on. There was, I don't know if you guys remember this. This was like maybe 5 or 6 years ago. There was a guy named Mike, and there's a website called KMikeyM, and he basically IPO'd himself and shares, and people could vote on who he dated, how he shaved his beard, his haircut, what he got his mom for Mother's Day. And that was like years and years ago. But right now, like to piggyback on what Shep was saying, Web3 is Web2, the artists give their stuff to the platform. They make their $15,000 on your email. They make more money on your music, on your art, but now you're the platform. In Web3, you can literally be the platform. But the challenge is, if you build your own platform, it's like if a tree falls in the woods and no one hears it, what's the problem, right? So there is benefit in scale to these Web2 instances, but you have your Web3 instance, and maybe you go to Sandbox and you do a little pop-up, and maybe you go to Decentraland and you do a little pop-up, and your world is here going, guys, come through the little portal, come to my show. I want my 100 true fans, my 1,000 true fans, Kevin Kelly kind of stuff. So really interesting what these frameworks can do, I think.
Yeah. Okay. I want to take this in a slightly different direction. Quick question for the audience. How many of you have been to the metaverse? Just make that a general statement. Like Decentraland. Has anybody been to Decentraland? All right. Did anybody have fun there? Anybody? Any hand? What about like the Sandbox? Anybody played with that? Shep here is talking about, did you have fun? Yeah, I tried it. I mean, Shep's talking about Fortnite, right? Which is it's a huge game. People don't necessarily think about that as the metaverse. That's why, I was saying, is it a metaverse? Is it the metaverse? But I want to take the conversation. We have actually a lot of expertise around experience up on this panel. And, I want to talk about what does it take to make an engaging experience. And Ben, you haven't had a chance to talk yet. So Ben Davis, everybody, Moondog is sponsoring this session. Thank you so much. Moondog Animation creates 3D animated experiences. You've got a lot of great stuff. You've done a lot of VR stuff. Tell us what it takes to make engaging stories, engaging experiences. What goes into that, and in what has been done in the metaverse so far, what's missing?
Well, that's the great news, is that there's nothing new under the sun. We're using the same type of tools that we've been using to create immersive experiences in museums, in creating TV shows, creating development for feature films, for just all these different pieces now are coming in an ideal new platform. For us, we see it as a fantastic opportunity to use the fact that we did this, for example, digital puppeteering. It's one that I really like what you're doing with the avatars. We've seen that done a lot already in even museum spaces. We did it ourselves a few years back at the St. Louis Aquarium, and it takes the production of a serious production with story and a team that animates. There's the rendering side. There's all the different tools of a normal process to create content. But now we have a new platform, a new opportunity. So we're really excited as content creators, because there's now a very big new field that's not yet been mowed.
Yeah. Shep, Ben mentioned it. You've got a fascinating project building avatar influencers. Tell us a little bit about that, and why do people care? Why is that working?
Yeah. So right now we're building, like you just mentioned, our goal is to build avatar celebrities. Right now I call them avatar influencers. And so we launched an avatar you can see called Zero from Nexus. He's across all social platforms, and we launched him in February. He launched the Samsung Galaxy on a live shopping event with them. He's been on stage at South by Southwest interviewing Mark Cuban. Like he's growing as this avatar that is building its own persona, building its own brand. And he's already got 200,000 followers. And the reason I think he's having serious adoption by like consumers that are, primarily gamers, primarily anime fans, is because everyone is becoming so used to being an avatar. You're sitting and you're spending days and days and days in Fortnite. You're sending people augmented reality, like faces of yourself. You're, sending things as a Bitmoji, and it's becoming something that hundreds of millions of people are doing on a daily basis. So the fact that there's this new medium of avatars our take is that we can build them, and, we can turn them into celebrities that people want to follow, that can then, be used as brand spokespeople or just entertainers. And so, what we've really done though is like we built some really cool like tech to power them in real time. And that's what makes this more unique. It's not a typical animation. There's no animation team behind it. And so like we have, someone behind the scenes that gets to, basically play for the day as this avatar for these fans. And so that really opens up a lot of unique opportunities. When you think about scaling a lot of avatars, you can, have a lot of people that can, as I've heard some avatars say, like behind the scenes, it feels like they're putting on a cape. No one knows who they are, but whenever they hop online, whenever they hop in the metaverse, they talk to their fans, they feel like they're a superhero. But when they walk in the grocery store, no one has a clue.
Yeah, on the adoption thing, just real quick, and Shep's being a little modest on this. You've been doing this stuff for years and generating, from the Knox Frost stuff, and like even before people were saying metaverse, he was experimenting, doing really interesting stuff there. The Fox show that was like recent, where people sung as avatars. Talk about adoption. We have like a show on NBC or one of the major networks where people were performing as avatars, and their experience as singers, they probably wouldn't have sung in front of a crowd, but like the cape analogy, right? You get this cape on and you become a superhero, right? So that to me screams some adoption too, as well as the stuff you're doing.
Yeah, we wanted to talk a little bit about identity in the metaverse, right? And like this is really the whole thought behind it, is that we can build an identity, but also like this, if you don't want to share your identity, you can just pick whoever you want to be. You can look like whoever you want to look like, whatever you want to look like. It doesn't have to be a person. And I think that's like what's really unique about this is it gives someone that may not have the confidence to sit on a stage like this the ability to be on a screen and still talk to people and not feel like it's really them. It's like gives them that ability to have that confidence in a way.
Right. And what's fantastic is that you have this side, the real-time input from real life people, and then you have the need for the narration, the storytelling, and all this collides together in these new platforms that are the metaverse.
Yeah. And I want to take it away from the avatars is a huge part of it, maybe the biggest part of it, but there's also the spaces. And so next question is both Himesh and Jeremy, because you've both, Himesh, you've got a long career in the hospitality business. Jeremy works in audio, music production, and has done some things to bring real world spaces into a metaverse. Whichever one of you wants to take this first, but what does it mean to have space and presence and audio in the metaverse? What role does that play in this whole thing?
I'll go first. So yeah, I definitely got my start as a music and audio guy, pre Web3 rabbit hole that we're all tumbling down right now. Being that I'm a music and audio guy, the one thing that I always used to think was the disconnect with virtual experiences was you have beautiful CG visuals and, lighted and all of this stuff. And you have like this 2-channel audio experience that is like so not believable. And your brain is always looking to push the BS button on every experience, including this one. Your brain is looking at us going, should I believe what these guys are saying? Like you're always, so if you have your goggles on and the visuals are beautiful, but the audio is kind of dumpy, then it's like, I'm not there. I'm not immersed in it. Right. So then you start thinking spatial audio, you start thinking ambisonics, you start capturing volumetrically and geometrically what this room is. And when you have audio coming through it, no matter where it's here or there, or it's a band on stage, from your perspective, how are you hearing that mathematically translated through the spatial capture of all that stuff? So I think that's going to be super important to making these experiences believable, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I'd like to add to that, Jeremy, is that creating these experiences, like in the hotel industry, I've had so many people come to me and say, let's build a hotel in the metaverse. It's like, okay, where do you want to build it? What's the destination? So all these experiences, you have to think about the monetization of it. How are you going to make money? Because you got to make this thing sustain itself, right? It's not going to just coexist because people want to pick a space in the metaverse and say, I want to build a retail store here. I want to build a bank here. I want to build a hotel here. It's an economy, and it's a programmable economy that's coming. And the users and the architects are going to have to come up with a framework of how is this going to be sustainable technologically and monetarily, right? There's going to have to be some rules and regulations once again for the flow of currency. And what's that currency going to be? It's not going to be fiat currency.
Yeah.
Right. So.
There's such a long, I mean, we could do 3 panels on economics in the metaverse, but let's go there for a second. Did Gordon Jones come? Is Gordon here? All right, I'm not asking your question then. Brandon, Brandon Pierce, did Brandon show up? Yeah, Brandon. So let me throw this one out there. It's a good question too. Is the metaverse really the future, or will it go the way of Google Plus, MySpace? Oh. Well, okay, you don't have to answer that question then either. Okay, let's go back to economics.
Next.
So seriously, I want to spend some time there.
You got to think about GDP, right?
Yeah.
For a country. In the metaverse, what's the GDP going to be? What's the GDP per capita going to be? Per avatar? What's your GDP per capita? You're universal, you're global.
Yeah.
You know, economics works based off of macroeconomics and microeconomics, right? And what's the metaverse? Is it macro? Is it micro?
I think it's super interesting to think about the metaverse as a standalone experience that's digital, but the way that it's all really going to work, at least in my mind's eye, is there's got to be this connectivity between physical and digital and consistent experiences, consistent economies. In digital, maybe they're enhanced or amplified, or you can obviously do things in that world that you can't do physically. But I think the bridges are going to be really important.
And I think that we'll do that like with our wallets that we have right now in MetaMask, right? I want to go somewhere on this too, real quick. Can I get a raise of hands? Like, who's heard of Axie Infinity? Okay, so there's like maybe 10, 15% of the people in here. And so Axie Infinity is like this kind of example of an economy that's being built within a game, but it's also really turning into something that's turning into real jobs for people. And so it might not be, massive here in America, but in Asia and in South America, millions and millions and millions of people that were getting paid $3, $4, $5 an hour to work in a, like a warehouse and whatnot, have quit their jobs because they are earning more money playing this game. And what they're doing is, it's an equivalent of a Pokemon where they go and they catch the Pokemon, they train the Pokemon, they're called Axies, but they catch the Axies, they train the Axies, and then they will, fight like duel, I guess, like with the other Axies in the team, or they'll sell them to other, to people like in America that say, I don't want to spend the time to train this. I'm down to drop $50. I'm down to drop $100 to go ahead and get an Axie that I can go and battle with others. And again, millions of people are doing this. And I think that's where the economy is going to come from, is like this could be something like we could auto program this, right? You don't have to have someone actually sitting here training, but it does build an economy into the game that allows people to get reward from their time.
And let's not forget AI, right?
Yeah.
When that comes, how's the metaverse going to look then?
Yeah, absolutely. One thing to jump on with Axie, the thing that I found really fascinating is that, they were like Shep said, they were earning 2-3x of what they would normally earn at their regular jobs. But when their landlords and their people that they needed to buy stuff from, store owners were starting to accept the Axie currency as real currency. That blew my mind. I was like, wait a minute. These guys are in game doing stuff. And that's the bridge that I think really makes it super interesting, right?
Yeah. Did Barbara Zabowski come? Thank you. First person to ask a real question. So this goes into a really interesting conversation we were having for a while last night. So Barbara's question is, how will the metaverse affect underserved communities? Is there a plan to be available to those who don't have easy access to technology? And I have a couple of side questions, so pick up any of these if you want. Does the metaverse mean virtual reality and high fidelity and all of that? Are there other ways to experience the metaverse? And what does the future look like, right? Are we leaving people behind? Are there going to be people who just don't have access? Or what does that look like 5, 10, however many years? What are we doing there?
I don't know if I should take this question, but I think one of the problems is that it's necessarily right now too young to be out for everyone. It costs too much. There's a cost of adoption. And I think I heard in other panels that it does take an investment to participate. And it's our job as the creators, the content creators, the infrastructure, the regulation, everything to figure out how to, in our benefit, to make it as wide as possible. I think one way is actually through how does it connect to make social impact? How is it not just trapped as an entertainment escape? And how does it maybe teach us things? We can go through education. We can even solve things. A great example, being a friend created a company called Minds Untapped, and their purpose is to help those that are on the spectrum to be able to test environments without being in the danger of being in the real situation. Like if here testing what it would mean to sit here on a panel or in the room or raising a hand for a question in a safe environment such as a metaverse. And that's a really neat way to even get more probably investment and interest in the metaverse, because it actually addresses a real need.
Yeah.
One way.
Yeah. Jeremy, go ahead.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think a lot of the projects or products or programs that I work on, there always is some form of onboarding and education piece to it, right? Because you have like what, 7% of people have wallets right now, I think is the last stat that I saw. And you have Web3 savvy people who have NFTs, who navigate the metaverse. You've got, Web3 curious, maybe they have one NFT in their wallet and they have like Web3 averse that are kind of scared of it. It seems like Silk Roady and like, oh, that's all just cryptocurrency, right? But one of the things, I'm a part of a DAO that's focusing on an onboarding component in underserved communities. It's based in hip hop culture. Anthony Marshall, who started Lyricist Lounge, is the founder, and we're kind of helping him figure out how we activate and teach people what this stuff is all about, and make sure they have access to it, because it's going to be big, right?
Yeah.
I've got some thoughts around this too, because I think it's a really good question. Whenever I first heard the question, or I read it before the panel, I was thinking like, that is a challenge right now. But then if you really start thinking about it too, like my example a second ago was millions of people, they were making $4 an hour now getting access to this version of a metaverse, being Axie Infinity, where that version might not be immersive with a headset on, but it's on a screen. And so I think that access comes from having access to a computer, a phone, or a headset. But Axie Infinity has also given a lot of people scholarships to give them the ability to get into this. And I think this goes back to the GDP per capita. If you know that having someone in your ecosystem, in your economy, is going to be worth $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $5,000, $50,000 one day, then it's really easy to give them a $300 VR headset. There's one other example too, is like Niantic's a really interesting company. This focus on bringing the metaverse into the real world. They still want that connectivity, but they want us to be able to walk around with our AR glasses on, or they want us to be able to pull out our phone and pull out an AR experience. And they're baking tokenomics into that, where it could be a scavenger hunt. You can walk around and boom, found it. I can now sell this for $400, and all you would need access for, or you could sell it for $400. That was an example, but like all you would need is a phone, and I do think like there will continue to be enough of an economy built that we'll continue to see scholarships and whatnot, making sure that people can get access to this, because that's how these companies will end up making money.
Yeah, I know I'm asking the questions, but I'll take this one too. In that, I think the other exciting thing from a VR metaverse perspective is that people can have access who today, real world, like you have to have access to a conference like this to have conversations, or you have to be in New York City, or you have to be in San Francisco to get some of the levels of conversation. And in the metaverse, as was said earlier, I can be whoever I want, right? Skin color doesn't matter, gender doesn't matter. Like all of those barriers can go away that we've built as a society. This is hypothetical, but also I can gain access to more spaces, and geography matters less, right? So whether I'm in North Africa or Southeast Asia or rural US community, I think there's an opportunity. All new technology has upsides and downsides, but there's an opportunity for a lot of good to come out of this. and also a lot of challenges, but the barrier to entry doesn't necessarily need to be enormous as long as we can get enough people broadband, which people are working on, and the headsets and devices are getting cheaper and more accessible. So I think there's some hope there. We're running super low on time. Real rapid fire, a couple of questions. In what year did or will the metaverse arrive? You get one answer, 1 year, go.
Quick sentence. Every year for the next 5 years will be the year of the metaverse. You'll wait. You'll look at the end of the year. You're going to say nothing happened. 5 years from now, we're going to be like, whoa, we're here. It's the same thing that happened with the year of mobile and whatnot, where it was like every year was the year of mobile, year of mobile, year of mobile. Now everything is on our phones. That's my answer.
Fair enough. Anybody disagree?
Nope.
All right. Give me one project happening today that you're excited about that people should be paying attention to.
To me, I think DAOs are like, I'm super excited about what those are. And I know we probably talked about those. They're a component of the metaverse experience, right? They're a component of Web3. But to me, it's like, imagine having something you really care about, a mission that you really care about, and you have 10 other people that really care about that same mission. And you're literally able to encapsulate your superpower, and superpowers like, maybe I'm good at music, maybe you're good at animation, maybe you're good at marketing, whatever it is, encapsulate that superpower, point it towards the target together, and you get return on that, right? But you're also doing good at the same time. So DAOs to me are like so exciting.
DAOs in DeFi.
DeFi. Yeah.
DeFi.
Sure.
Yeah. What else? Give me a specific.
Specifically, I mean, I'm really excited about the project we're working on together with Himesh. It brings utility. It's a word we've talked about a lot, and I think solving the energy availability and using NFTs that then translate into a metaverse to educate and to bring awareness towards the net carbon neutrality by 2050. That's a fantastic use of all this new topic.
And to add to the underserved that we talked about before, there's over 1 billion people that's never had electricity in the world, right? But those people have mobile phones, which is kind of weird, right? In Africa, for instance, they don't have access to electricity, but they all got mobile phones, and they're already trading in crypto, and they're already doing internet banking and payments through their phones, which some of the other developed markets don't even have. So it's kind of going to be very interesting into the adoption in the different geographical
Absolutely.
locations.
This has been a fascinating conversation. Thank you all. Thank you all for coming. Thank you to our wonderful speakers here. And we'll hang out some. There's so much to talk about here, right? Connect with these guys, connect with us, and let's keep this conversation going because it's going to be an exciting few years. Thank you all.